Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Sustainable Scoop. Following last November's election, a lot of people thought it was time to become involved and active in politics. But you know what? There's no better place to be involved than at home. And here in Arlington, an organization called Our Revolution got started and started a lot of discussions. One of the discussions we're going to talk about is reinvestment. And joining me today is Charlotte Malerich. She's with Arlinvest and Roshan Abraham, and he is on the steering committee for reinvestment in Arlington.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Charlotte, you start. This was kind of your brainchild. Tell me, how did you get involved in the movement, and what does it mean?
Well, I think kind of synchronistically, we were both thinking about divestment before we met, but I was following the Dakota Access Pipeline and what was happening out in North Dakota, wondering how I could be of support, and the call came out to get people to divest from the banks that are funding that pipeline. So I started looking into it. I found out what people were doing in DC and thought this could work in Arlington. We can get our county out of Wells Fargo.
So lo and behold, it was Wells Fargo that handles Arlington's money.
Right.
And Roshan, what is Wells Fargo's involvement in the Access Pipeline?
Well, so they're a major funder of the Dakota Access Pipeline, but also more close to home, they are a major funder of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline and the Mountain Valley Pipeline. And our view is that, despite anything we're doing locally to work on the environment, like our community energy plan, we also have to look at how our money is helping or hurting that cause. And Wells Fargo is funding all those pipelines that are so dangerous and leak so much methane, which is so much worse than carbon dioxide.
This is a really interesting conversation because here in Arlington, people do think that they're enlightened and they do have a great energy plan and they want to move to zero waste. So why don't more people understand about our involvement in Wells Fargo and their involvement in fossil fuels, and how are you trying to change that?
Well, I think that we're sort of taught to think of ourselves as consumers, and when we're consumers and we're using our money to buy what we need, we're not thinking necessarily about our values and what we care about and what the social good is. So what I like about divestment campaigns and as a tactic is that you can unite a lot of people who care about a lot of different issues. And Wells Fargo is funding so many things that are socially problematic, not just pipelines, but private prisons, for example, which has had a direct impact on the kinds of policies we have in this country about drugs, for example, and criminalization of immigrants.
And it's all, ties into a not sustainable model.
Right.
And that's really something that's important to us. So you started a petition. How's it going?
So we had our kickoff event last Wednesday. We had a full house at our screening of Awake, A Dream from Standing Rock. We got lots of signatures at the event, and we also have our petition online where people can sign at actionnetwork.org/petitions/divest-arlington-2. That's the number 2. And it's a steady movement. I think we are already getting some traction.
Well, there's no doubt that when people hear about this, especially in Arlington, you should get a great response. People are really concerned. But what about our elected officials? What about those that are running for office? Where do they stand on the issue?
We sent the petition to both Eric Gutschall and Charles McCullough. Charles McCullough has signed the petition and is championing it. I think he'll be a great ally if he makes it to the county board. Eric Gutschall said in a questionnaire that we sent him that he does support divestment, but he hasn't signed the petition. He hasn't made any real clear remarks whether he will or not.
But then, of course, Our Revolution is involved in a lot of issues, and you recently sent a questionnaire out to both candidates. Is there a way for Arlingtonians to take a look at that questionnaire and their answers?
Yes, that is. Those are publicly available. The best way to get a look at that is to email us at ourrevolutionarlington@gmail.com.
Excellent.
And we'll make that available for anyone who wants it.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now, of course, there are bigger issues outside of Arlington. Even if you were successful and you had this great discussion, you know, the idea of having a community bank, banking a better way, is something you'd have to take on in Richmond. Are you prepared for that fight?
I think we are. I mean, I think we are very serious about this. We want a better future, and we're talking to other groups in Virginia who are working on divestment in their communities. There's a group in Richmond that's already working on this. So I think if we all link up, you know, there's certainly interest and a fight to be had there.
And they did it in Seattle, Washington, so they did it there.
Yes, they did it there, and their cities all across the U.S. are doing it. New York, D.C., Philadelphia, they're all taking steps, so why not Arlington?
Okay, now that's great. Reinvest, or Arl Reinvest.
Right.
How do people get in touch with Arl Reinvest?
You can email us at arlreinvest@gmail.com.
Okay.
You can also search for us on Facebook. Again, it's ARL Reinvest. And you can
What
also-
about Our Revolution?
You can reach us at ourrevolutionarlington@gmail.com, and you can also find us on Facebook at Our Revolution Arlington. Just search for us there, and you'll find our group page.
Not hard to find,
No.
or go to your one of your many events.
Awesome.
Okay, well, I want to thank you both for your work here in Arlington and bringing up this important discussion. We'll see you again.
Thanks for
All
having
right.
us.
Thanks, Miriam.
And I want to thank all of you for watching this edition of the Sustainable Scoop. I'm Miriam Gennari. Back to the news desk.